Thank you. Thank you, friends, and good morning again. Longer days, warming temperatures, sprightly birds gathering supplies for their nest. The vernal equinox is here, and with it come so many markers of change. We see these changes and our bodies adjust. Our bodies remember what it is like to stretch in the sunlight or look upon a budding tree. These are signs of change. These are wayfinding markers of our seasons. As we reflect together this morning, I ask us to think about the wayfinding items we encounter in our lives. Perhaps you walk along a lakeside trail and find your way with the help of arrows and trail names. Maybe you venture to the library and wander through the stacks with the small placards indicating author last names. Or it could be that you're currently more used to signage declaring 6 feet of distance between you and another person as you wait in line at the grocery store. What these wayfinding tools do is help us navigate through our lives. They guide us along our shared earth. They provide information or direct us to information. And wayfinding tools in this current time can even aim to keep us safe. What I want to offer today, though, is a question. What in our Unitarian Universalist tradition are wayfinding tools? Adding to this, what do we see in our lived experiences as UUs, both individually and collectively, as those indicators along the trails of life that guide us toward right relationships and an equitable society? Life is so full of stimuli that it can be assuredly difficult to parse out the wayfinding bits. But I believe there is guidance within and beyond the noise. And as I say this, I ask you to hold words that were shared in last week's presentation. What you pay attention to grows. These are the words of Adrienne Marie Brown, who wrote the book Emergent Strategy. And this simple phrase, what you pay attention to grows, is part of the power of wayfinding. Before going further, I want to share a story with you about an adventure I had with wayfinding back when I was a teenager looking at colleges. At that time, I was very interested in a school in New York City. So with one of my parents, I flew to New York City for one of those typical campus tours. The adventure, or misadventure as it were, started around the time we landed at LaGuardia Airport. This is when my parent informed me that I was in charge of navigating us from the airport to the school's campus. Now, I knew a few things at this time. I knew that we wanted to board the M60 bus outside of the terminal, and I knew that we wanted to get to the Astoria Boulevard subway station to hop aboard a train towards Manhattan. To say I felt confident in the moment would be an exaggeration, but I did have a plan. My plan was based on using wayfinding tools. So as we boarded the M60 bus and headed along the route, I was determined not to get us lost. My plan, in case you were wondering, was to get off the bus when I saw an indication we were on Astoria Boulevard. In my mind, that indication from any number of wayfinding tools, a street sign, for example, would tell me that this is where we needed to be more or less. Astoria Boulevard Station, Astoria Boulevard, the two are practically the same, so I thought. As it turned out, and as you might be guessing, a single wayfinding tool, a single street sign, was not the best piece of information needed within this context. My parent, following my lead, got off the bus with me when it stopped on Astoria Boulevard. And as that bus pulled away to continue along its route, it dawned on me that the Astoria Boulevard subway station was not nearby. Yes, the subway station and I were both on Astoria Boulevard, but that road is over 4 miles long. And in that moment, in the early 2000s, without a smartphone in our hands, in that moment of confused wayfinding, we could have been anywhere along those 4 miles. We ended up walking the way the bus went and watched as 1 or 2 more M60 buses drove past as we continued walking. And we did end up at that subway station and made it to campus with plenty of time to spare. So at the end of the day, it's not as if the wayfinding tools were a complete failure. It's just that my interpretation of them, the way I use them, left a lot to be desired. I share this story because what I think it offers is some insight into how we use our perspectives to read wayfinding tools. We read them to understand, and we bring to that understanding our own knowledge, our own history, our own experiences. What is hopefully clear in my story is the real lack of experience there. But over time, please know, as I did end up going to school in New York City, it became really easy to learn from that experience and build upon my ability to navigate. Similarly, I think we all, at our own pace, develop our understanding of Unitarian Universalism with our lived experiences. And as we move along, we become more in tune with the usefulness of the wayfinding tools presented to us. And now I want to bring forth that question I started with earlier. What in our Unitarian Universalist tradition are wayfinding tools? What I'm about to suggest is hopefully not surprising to you. I see our principles as those wayfinding tools. These principles are the guides along the metaphorical hiking trail, the signage at the end of a stack of shelves in the library, and the directionals on a light rail station platform. We have these principles at the ready to help us move through life. We are called together by these principles. We can use them as both the reason for growth and as instruments to help us grow. And as we grow as individuals and as a community, I hope we are growing through a lived experience that elevates our ability to decipher our truths in ways we might be amazed by, but always at our core feel solid and right. In this way, our fourth principle, our free and responsible search for truth and meaning, gives to us, as you use, an indicator of what bus routes we might take in life. What this fourth principle does not do is tell us when to get off the bus. Much like my misadventure on the M60, the fourth principle is telling us there's this long boulevard to explore with many stops. When we hold on to the fourth principle, we are going along for an adventure that might have us 20 stops too early or 1 stop too late. But the fourth principle runs frequently, so I would urge us to make sure to continue boarding it, to continue figuring out What stop is right? What stop holds truth? Because what we pay attention to grows. With the fourth principle comes with it the inherent nature of all wayfinding tools, an invitation. Wayfinding tools are not a demand, they are invitations. Of all the pathways in life, wayfinding tools do not say, you must go this way, but they do share an invitation to go a certain way. Signage leading up to a building might say entrance, for example, but it does not demand you use that entrance. You may not even be headed to that building. Like wayfinding signs, our principles guide us through an invitation. And in our search for truth and meaning, we can discern for ourselves the invitations that greet us. And when we pay attention to those invitations, when we pay attention to those wayfinding tools, we strengthen our covenant. We strengthen ourselves within community. But let me be clear, paying attention to a wayfinding sign and choosing to go along the direction of a wayfinding sign are two distinct things. From my story earlier, I believe you can recognize the hazard one takes when we do not bring with us a robust understanding of ourselves in the context of a situation. Perhaps this is from too much looking inward and reflecting on the short-term invitation of a sign. Perhaps this is from choosing to reflect without taking any action. Our principles as instruments of wayfinding are all around us. In small and large ways, we are greeted with invitations to act on our beliefs. Granted, our principles do not appear as typical signage out in the general public. I've yet to ride a bus where my inherent worth and dignity covers the fare, but our principles are known to us. They are at our core. I offer to you that our principles appear in ways unknown until we are open to the invitations they offer. And then, yes, we will see those invitations all around us. What comes next is how we act on those invitations. What we pay attention to grows. But let us not stop at paying attention. Let us move. Let us move with a responsible search for truth. Let us move with a responsible search for meaning. Let us move in conjunction with our communities. Let us move with an understanding of our privileges. Let us move with love. In our world, we are surrounded by stimuli that can clutter our attention, the complexities of public transportation being one of them. What I lift up today is a reminder that our shared principles are wayfinding tools. They invite us along pathways in our interconnected web of being. Let us choose those pathways. Let us choose them freely and responsibly, and let us choose them so that we might move along them. Blessed be.
Thank you very much. Remove spotlight. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to play a little video that I made for a previous service. I think it was Lori Bushbaum's. And we can pause for reflection. Also, we'd like to mention if you'd like to donate, you can go to our website, www.dakotauu.org, and click the donate button along the top. And we would like to recognize that my offering will be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. DUUC can foster a space for connection and healing, and donations are gratefully accepted to continue that mission. So I'm going to share my screen, make sure it's screen 2, and play this little video for reflection and meditation. Okay. So we have time for congregational reflection and questions, comments. Go ahead and unmute yourself and chime right in. One thing I'd appreciated is how you folded in some of key phrase from our service from last week. That was well done. Anybody have something they'd like to share? Kelly?
Yeah, I really appreciated that too, Chuck. And also when you were talking about what do we have, how the principles are our pathfinders, it immediately made me think of the rainbow path is what we call the principles that have been kind of modified for children to understand or young people. But I have, even though I consider myself a child at heart, maybe. I am well past childhood, but they have served me well. They're much more, I don't know, easily taken with me than the actual wording of all the principles.